go live.
I see it. I see it. All right, let me turn off that because otherwise we're going to be listening to it. I see it live on, if you're on LinkedIn, welcome. We'll officially start here in a moment. We're making sure everything is working properly. Do you see us live on YouTube, Nick?
Looks like we're live.
Okay, cool.
Yep,
Just didn't
live.
update on my screen. Okay, cool. Wow, I usually see people doing their lives, especially the first time, and they are struggling. And it looks like we've successfully done it. And I hopefully I didn't jinx us either.
Yeah, I mean, I think that test we did yesterday helped.
Yeah. All right, so let's officially kick this off. I'll again, a little behind the scenes for everybody. We don't have music yet. We were talking about, do we want music? Do we need music? We're going to let this thing evolve since we're going to do it weekly, and we'll see where it goes and what happens. So in the meantime, let's officially kick this off. This is the inaugural Minvo ProCast. I am your host, Marc Ronick, and this is my partner in crime, and you may recognize him as the Minvo how-to guy, Nick Nalbach. Hello, Nick.
Hello, how's it going?
Going well. I mean, we've already talked multiple times today. We do the podcasting morning chat in the mornings. We do that live. And now here we are again. It's eventually, Nick, I have a feeling we might get sick of each other.
You know, you would think that. I feel like for the last year, we've been nothing but texting each other nonstop. I always get a nice good morning text from Mark.
Yes. And usually followed by something I need or want from you.
Hey, you gotta give a little, gotta get a little, right?
That's right. Yes. And that's actually a great place to start. We'll tell you a little bit about us and how we know each other, and then just a little bit about us individually as well. First, some housekeeping stuff before we get things started. If you registered on LinkedIn, you may have noticed we were encouraging that with a giveaway. So toward the end of this ProCast, what we're going to do is spin the wheel and randomly select one of the registrants, and you will win a lifetime membership to Minvo. So what does that mean? That's basically like $1,000 value easily, and it's essentially more or less unlimited use of Minvo. So if that is of interest to you, if you registered, one thing you got to do, stick around, stay here till the end, because the two requirements are you got to register on LinkedIn and you got to be here during the ProCast to win that prize. So what we'll do is, if that wheel is spun and we land on a name of someone who is not here, we'll just spin it again. Hopefully we won't spin it. I think the last count I saw was 140 people registered. So hopefully we won't be spinning it that many times, but we will absolutely spin that wheel and see who does win. And also just want to remind you, if you want to ask us any questions along the way, we're going to talk a lot of short form video content for this first inaugural episode. So if you have questions, put them in the chat, and Nick and I will do our best to answer as many as we possibly can. If you know me from the podcasting morning chat, you have heard me say at least once or twice that I usually suck when it comes to the chat room. I get easily distracted. That is the ADHD in me. I'm not just saying I have ADHD. I actually was diagnosed with ADHD, and sometimes keeping up with both the chat and the conversation here with Nick can be a little bit daunting for me. So I will do my best. I've got Nick here to help me out along the way. Please feel free to ask us any questions, whether it's around short form video, podcasting, video content in general. You'll see as we go here what kind of questions you might feel like asking based on the discussion that we're having. So as far as Nick and I are concerned, I'm still getting used to and remembering what our official title is now with Minvo, but we started working with Minvo a few months ago, making some content, talking about their product and their service, and it evolved, and now we are part of that Minvo team. We are their basically their content arm and their community arm. So we are looking to build up, nurture, grow both the content side and the community side of Minvo. And what's so funny, Nick?
I'm just watching the chat here, and we got Anil. He joined us yesterday while we were doing our test, and he said, "Looks like
Yes.
Nick is swinging this from his car." And yeah, I'm in the mobile studio. I was just showing Mark a picture beforehand of like my view of it. It's pretty humorous, so I'll have to find a way to share this with you guys at some point. But yeah, we got to do what we got to do to make things work, right?
That's right. And you got to put that on your, say, like your Instagram, TikTok stories, put that up there, and then we can just go follow you at 95 Freedom, right?
9.5 free. Yep.
95 free. Beg your pardon. So, yeah, so that's how Nick and I got involved with Minvo. And prior to that, Nick and I have been hosting the Podcasting Morning Chat, which is a daily podcast. We first do it live on, yes, believe it or not, we do it live on Clubhouse. We are debating on bringing it over to LinkedIn Audio in addition to that. But yeah, currently that's the vehicle we use to do the show, and then we put it out as a podcast a couple hours after the live stream. So we've known each other for at least 2.5, 3 years now, and we were doing that. And then when ChatGPT hit the scene I should say, when it hit the scene with popularity, because it was out prior to November of 2022, but it got really popular in November of 2022. And that was really the first time I was introduced to it. I think pretty much the first time, Nick, you as well. And we just fell in love with AI, fell in love with ChatGPT, and it has blossomed ever since. We ended up creating another community called Next Gen Podcaster, if you didn't see it on my shirt. And that is a community for podcasters, YouTube creators, to learn different ways and different tools to help your efficiency, your productivity, your creativity around creating content. So that's a little bit about us. I am the CEO of Ironic Media. I do podcast production, podcast coaching, podcast consulting. I've been in this podcast field for almost 20 years now. I've worked with all size podcasts, ones that get 20,000 downloads every day to ones that are just starting out with virtually no audience and looking to build one up using a podcast. So yeah, that's been a part of my 20-year career, among other things like TV. I was a TV producer in another life, and podcasting has always been my passion. So I am doing this here with Minvo, and also doing a bunch of stuff with Nick. And Nick, if you want to take a second to tell our new community a little bit about you, now's your chance. Go for it.
Yeah. So nice to meet all of you, even though I can't see you. I know you're there. I'm seeing you guys in the chat. I actually got into the podcast scene in 2020, and it was after many failed attempts at content creation. I just decided a podcast was the way to go. And ever since then, I got into the podcast coaching space. So that is really what my personal brand 9.5 to Freedom is about, helping coach people through podcasting and more specifically launching their podcast. And then, like Mark alluded to, the AI scene kind of stepped up. So a lot of what I do now is around content creation, because I've been through that like bottom of the bottom to now creating content basically every single day. And we just want to help other creators get that confidence, learn the tools to save them time. And AI is a big part of that. And Minvo has actually been a big part of that, and what we've talked about in our community as well. Other than that, you hit a lot of what you're working on, I'm working on. So I feel like we're pretty good.
Right on. Well, I'm going to make you, Nick, the official chat room watcher, connector, etc., because I haven't quite figured out a good way to have that on my screen without a lot of noise and stuff going on. So I'll figure that out for the next one, and I'll ask you to...
I'll be the chat room hawk.
There you go. That was the word I was looking for. Perfect. All right, awesome. So yes, again, we are going to do that giveaway for a lifetime subscription to Minvo toward the end of this stream. So you got to stick around if you want to win that. So remember that. And if you've got questions, by all means, put them in the chat. Nick will keep an eye on it for us, and we will get to those as best we and as quickly as we can. And the way we want to start today is a little bit focusing on some of Minvo's features. And I think, Nick, the best place to start is with the new features, because if you subscribe to Minvo's newsletter, you might have seen some of that announced yesterday. And I think today is a good place to start talking about some of these features. So yeah, go for it, Nick.
Yeah, so Minvo has come out with, I mean, if you guys have been a part of that newsletter, you know that they're coming out with new features quite regularly. It's pretty impressive how fast they're pumping out some of this stuff. But some of the new features that they just brought in was picture in picture. So you can have a view of something happening on your screen. I'm doing this because I'm thinking vertical. And then you could have in the corner like a little picture in picture. I don't know how else to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Another video showing up on screen that's just kind of hanging out. And I think that'd be, for me, I do a lot of explainer videos, obviously, as you saw in like the how-to videos. That would make doing something like that extremely easy. Just having the little bubble of your face up in the corner while you're showing something on screen or whatever. So that's one of the first ones that caught my attention. And then
and actually, Nick, let me ask you about that one. I know that one's got to be, and I know you haven't played with it a lot yet because it's brand new, but it's got to be a feature that you're excited about based on what you're doing currently, because you've been making a lot of how-to videos on Minvo, and there is some picture-in-picture in that. And I happen to know some of the behind the scenes where you're bouncing between multiple products in order to make that happen, right? So this has got to be easier for you, right?
Yeah, it is. I think right now I'm using 2 or 3 different video editing platforms to create those. And there's reasons behind all of them, but what I'm really interested in, because Minvo is evolving more and more into like a full-fledged video editor, I'm interested to take some of those videos and just upload a raw video and just edit it entirely within Minvo and see if I can handle that entire process, because it's getting to that point where it's not just a clips creator, it's now an editor, which is pretty impressive for the web-based platform using AI, all that stuff. So I'm excited to play with that one. I haven't had a chance to really dig into it, but I'm definitely gonna be keeping my eye on it.
Yeah, the features, the new additions that Minvo's cranking out, and I mean that when I say cranking out, it's unbelievable how quickly we're seeing these new features. And we're not just saying that because we're part of the team. We will often notice a new feature, and then one of us will reach out to each other. Hey, have you seen what you can do now on Minvo? And we're really excited about it. I used it a lot. I had a big interview that I did recently, and I used it solely for all the clips that I created. And it is so easy now, especially with that timeline editor. I think that was one of the ones that you and I, Nick, were super excited about, with that timeline feature and what you can do with it. I just hats off to Minvo for the quickness in adding a lot of these new features. And I know there are more you were going to talk about.
Yeah. So the other one is that I'm personally really excited about is the sound effects. So just like you can like either right click on the timeline, or you can highlight a portion of your text and you insert like an emoji or whatever, you can now insert sound effects as well. And they have a pretty decent sized library of sound effects, which is awesome, because that, to me, I feel like sound really helps develop the story that you're trying to tell, and it can help grab attention. And if you don't have any of that going on in the video, people might tune out. But if you have that little pop that happens in the screen, someone like, whoa, what's going on? And searching through stock audio and stock sound effects and things like that is such a pain. And I feel like I'm always looking for the same sound effects over and over again. So now the fact that you could just right click, drop in a sound effect, and just literally drag it on the timeline where you want it, like that's probably one of the features I'm the most excited about, is the sound effects, to be honest.
I agree with you. I'm a big sound effects guy, especially my old podcast always had sound effects on standby. And yeah, I like this idea. Look, you can use sound effects if you're trying to think, well, what am I going to use a sound effect for? I think one of the best ways to use them, similar to what you were saying, Nick, it's a pattern disruptor. even when you are transitioning from one scene to the next or one shot to the next, using a sound to help do that, just like I said, it creates that pattern disrupt and it can hold people's attention a lot longer. So I think that's a great one. And a non-Minvo feature along the lines of the sound effects. You were just sharing with me recently 11 Labs. Is that right? It was 11 Labs.
Yeah.
They've added something, and I wanted you to share a little bit about that if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, 11 Labs, they do audio, like text to audio. I had started a totally AI generated podcast, and I send my script through 11 Labs, and you can pick different voices and things like that, and it essentially reads your script for you, which is pretty awesome. But they just introduced a new sound effect feature where you go in there, you type in what kind of sound effect you're looking for, just like explain what you want that sound to be, and then they'll generate like several different options for you to choose from, and then you can just download them and use them. And I'm pretty sure you have to be a paid account for like commercial use, but I'm on like the cheapest paid account, and I'm pretty sure I have like commercial license on all the sound effects that I do now, and I've dabbled in it a little bit. That's another new feature that they just announced this week, but it's actually pretty good. I did a couple like bubble pop kind of things, and I actually really like that. That'll be a versus going to stock. I'll probably go just create my own and I don't know, be unique.
That's right. And I just shared in the chat for LinkedIn. See, I'm figuring things out as we go here, and I'm using my phone right now to do that. I shared your link to the AI briefing podcast. That is the one that Nick just mentioned, which is all AI generated. What percentage of it would you say is AI versus human, Nick, as far as creating it every episode?
I mean, I would say it's probably anywhere to 80 to 90% AI generated.
Yeah.
I've been playing a little bit more with like the format and like going in and tweaking some of the things, but for the most part, like the script gets AI generated. The intros, the outros, all that's AI generated. Then it's fed to 11 Labs, which creates the AI audio, the show notes, the title, like all that's AI generated with like a few minor tweaks here and there. And then I literally just grab the episode in the morning, publish it, and away we go.
Yeah.
And it's
And
done decent on YouTube.
and here's the thing I want to make clear, because speaking of YouTube, you often will get some comments from people who get very upset that you've got this fully automated AI podcast. And to be clear, Nick is doing this as an experiment. He's not trying to do this to pull the wool over your eyes. He's not looking to trick anybody. The whole idea, Nick, if I'm not mistaken, is to learn just how much we could do something like that, and then to be able to share and show people the different types of things you can do to automate your processes, because ultimately that's our bag, right? That's the name of our game, is we're trying to find ways to make creating content easy, simple, and efficient. Fair?
Yeah, and I mean, there's been the slew of comments in there where people are like, "Oh, well, an AI podcast about AI, like, get out of here," kind of thing. And yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like, I'm curious to know what could be used with AI. Are people going to listen to AI podcasts because AI has become a huge thing now, and there's going to be a lot of things like that popping up. And is it something people are going to consume? Is it people like are people going to spend time doing this? And then where can we incorporate that into our own shows? But I think the biggest takeaway that I've gotten from all of it and the people that I've spoken to about the show, like it's a short, they're short episodes, like 2 to 3 minutes max. And people say that they don't mind listening to that. But when they listen to podcasts, they want to connect with the creator. And I think
Yeah.
just knowing the fact that it's AI generated, like there's no connection there. Like all this is curated, it's artificial, where when people tune into the content, they want to connect with you, they want to connect with the content. And for that reason, I think it's going to be very difficult for AI podcasts to really just like take over the content creation scene. But I mean, I've learned a lot about the automation process in AI and all of that just from doing this experiment. And it has generated decent amount of views and engagement, good and bad. It's not all just everyone putting it down, but it's just been an overall fun experience to see, and now being able to start incorporating some of the content that we create.
Yeah. Any engagement is good engagement, right? The bad engagement, that it's triggering the algorithms just the same as the good feedback. So yeah, keep it coming, good or bad, we don't care. And I'm curious if you are listening right now live, whether you're watching on LinkedIn or YouTube, put a 1 in the chat if you listen or watch any content that is AI generated, meaning very similar to Nick's, right? Like, would you listen to an AI generated host? So give me a 1 if you would, a 0 if that's not your bag, if you would not listen, watch a podcast, a YouTube video that has an AI generated host on screen talking to you. Curious.
Well, people are doing that. Mark, are you seeing any LinkedIn chat?
I am. We just got a number
page.
1. Oh, we got a bunch of 1s here, actually. I got several coming through now. Several people said they're open to listening or watching an AI generated host. So Nick, you may have a couple of new listeners by the end of this. So far, that's all we're getting are number 1. So that's pretty cool.
Okay, so I want to apologize because I am not seeing the chat right now. I was seeing YouTube, but I wasn't seeing anything. Okay, here we go. It wasn't updating for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it updated now?
I had to go to a completely different screen. So now I see both chats. We're good now.
And we've got a couple of zeros now that have said meh. For example, we've got one person, Ella, says, it's not my favorite. Sorry, the chat keeps going. I'm trying to catch up to it. It's not my favorite, though, because they all seem to use the same guy's voice, LOL. Yeah, I can see that or hear that for sure.
So I don't know, depending on how you feel about
but go ahead.
I was going to say, depending on how you feel about it, you can also train, like 11 Labs as an example, you can train it on your own voice. So you could recreate your own voice and maybe make some tweaks and things like that to it, but it would avoid having the same voice as the same guy over and over again.
Yes. Yeah. And I like that idea. I like the idea of having it create your voice and then use your own voice to do something like what Nick's doing. And all right, so here's the next thing I want to do. I want to make sure that we hit all the new features. And I also want to talk about some of our favorite features of Minvo. And if you are in the chat and interested in sharing your favorite Minvo feature, put that in the chat, share it with us, and we'll see if we align or not. But Nick, did we hit all of the new features?
The other one that I don't think that we hit yet, and I don't even know if this is live, so I might be giving like a sneak peek. So David, if you're watching this, I apologize.
Nick, you're going to be fired before we get started here.
So if this wasn't announced yet, you guys get like the first glance. There is video effects now that you can add to your clips. So if you split out a section of your video, you can add filters to it. And I believe I saw that you could actually do like a punch in, like a zoom in effect kind of thing with the clips themselves as well, which I do that a lot manually for a lot of my social media content. So you have like the punch zoom in when you're emphasizing something important or whatever. It just helps keep that engagement going in your shorts. So that's one that I'm actually really excited about. And again, I haven't gotten to play with it because they just keep pumping out new stuff and I can't keep up with it. But
yeah,
I am excited to play with it.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And yeah, we'll find out if that's been revealed or not, Nick. Or next week we won't have Nick here. You'll know why. All right, so we are getting some of. Let's see. A lot of people are putting in their favorite tools, and thank you. That's interesting to see some of these. And I think Nick and I have pretty much played with at least all of these that have been shared so far. But yeah, let's talk about your favorite features currently available with Minvo. And again, if you're in the chat, share what your favorite feature is. A couple people have already shared they're really digging the timeline feature. I know that was one you were really clamoring for originally when we started using it, and it came pretty quickly after that. I love that. And what I love about the timeline feature is And actually, I found out you didn't know this when we were talking about our favorite features yesterday. There's this, so if you're looking at the timeline, at the top of the timeline, it also puts in the words that are being spoken above the waves, right? And sometimes when we're taking a long breath or taking a pause, there's just a space there. But what Nick didn't know is if you go over to that space, the same way if you were to roll your mouse over to one of the words that you want to delete from the timeline, if you roll your mouse over that space, just that dead space, no words in it or anything, and you click, it'll give you the option to delete that space. So that saves you a ton of time, because otherwise the way you have to do it is get into the timeline editor, find the endpoint, slice that track, and then find the other endpoint and slice that off as well. So this is just like a quick fix to getting rid of any dead space that you want. I love that feature. I used it a lot recently.
Yeah, I'm upset I didn't know about that one. And I will say though, I do the timeline feature, like Mark said, it was one of the things I was most excited about when it came in, because the transcript editing stuff is really cool. It makes cutting out parts really easy. But
Mm-hmm.
if you've used any of these AI tools or any like Descript or Minvo or any of the transcript based editing stuff, a lot of times it'll like start to catch the next word, or it'll start cutting off a word too early, and then you're like, well, what do I do? Like, I'm just kind of stuck.
Right.
And being able to grab that little clip on the timeline and drag it out to like make it fit the whole word in, like that to me was huge. And like I'll use a combination of both the transcript and the timeline as I'm going through my videos. And now that you've just introduced the get rid of the silence thing, like that's a big one for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that one. And let's see what somebody says, Jamal, and please forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong. I use Minvo more as an AI assistant while I'm editing in FCPX. What's FCPX? Why am I not
Final Cut
connecting?
Pro.
Oh yeah, Final Cut. Yes, to find the best moments. Yeah, I up until a few weeks ago, admittedly, that was a very similar way that I was using Minvo, is kind of like find me that great content, and then I'll grab it and I'll put it in a different editor and I'll edit it there. But I have found that by playing around just a little bit more with Minvo, it's been nice to just keep it all in one place on Minvo. And with all these features being added, it's getting easier and easier to stay within Minvo and not have to pull it out and do any of that precision editing. So what else, Nick? What are your other, I like that gap feature. What are you digging right now?
Ooh, on the transcripts. So previously, when I had started using Minvo, I guess it would have been Memento then. Um,
Yeah.
you, if you wanted to change anything in the transcript, like there were instances where I wanted to like get rid of words in the transcript, or I wanted to make changes to certain things, and it would actually delete parts of my video, or it would just kind of change everything about the video, and I couldn't edit the transcript specifically. And now they have this fix typos feature. So up above the transcript, you can click like edit, or you can highlight the text and click fix typos. And now you can actually adjust the text. And I love this for the explainer video stuff again, because a lot of times I'll be showing something happening on the screen and I don't want the caption, like the captions coming on the screen cover up what I'm trying to show. So then it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, do I put the captions down on the bottom, but then it covers up my face when I'm talking, or in the middle, then it covers up what's going on the screen. And now I can just eliminate like that one line that shows
Yeah.
up that blocks what I want to show, and the captions for everything else just stay the same. And I do that without just deleting that section of the video out. So I've been actually taking advantage, finding creative ways to use that fix typos area for my videos specifically, and I've loved that.
Yes, I know. I've heard you raving about that every so often. Yes, I'm with you. And Jamal, again, is it Jamal or Jamail? Maybe you can somehow type that to me, Jamal, and then I'll pronounce it right. He that basically saying, yeah, I need to keep practicing more with Minvo, and I really encourage that. I again fully admit sometimes it takes me a minute to actually dive into a new product, and Minvo was no exception to that. And then when I recorded an interview with somebody I really respect in this space, Heather Parody, I needed something that I could work with all in one place, be as efficient as I can, because I had a lot of clips I wanted to make and use to promote. And just by going through it 2, 3, 4 times, really trying to utilize all the features I wanted to use, like adding the B-roll in and doing all the things, just keep practicing, because it is really intuitive. It's just going to take you a minute to play around with it, understand how it works, and then the more you start to learn 1, 2, 3 features, all of a sudden the other ones start to make a lot more sense and how to use them. So yeah, I encourage you to keep using the product, and I'm confident that you'll be more comfortable with it soon.
And if you have questions, I'm going to kind of plug their Minvo's Discord. If you're not a part of the Discord, Mark and I are setting up a channel within Discord that's called ProCast. Is that how you set it up? Or Minvo ProCast?
Yep.
So if you have questions about some of the stuff, or maybe even just stuff that we're talking about here in the ProCast, hop over in that Discord channel and chat with us, because we're more than happy to lend our advice and share some tips that we've uncovered along the way. Or if you're struggling with something, like, we're more than happy to kind of help facilitate that as well. So don't be afraid to say hi over there.
Awesome. Yeah, I think technically right now the one channel that we've created it's called ProCast Topic Requests. That's the name of it. We may expand on that one. We may build out a whole forum channel. We'll keep you posted on that, and would love to connect with you there on Minvo's Discord. All right, let's see. And Jamail, thank you for giving me the correct pronunciation. Now I won't get it wrong. And let's see. Oh yeah, there were some questions about, people are starting to ask here in the chat about who they're wondering who's using Minvo for long form editing. Have you done any of that, Nick?
If I'm understanding the question correctly, like to edit out like a YouTube video, like a 5-minute YouTube video or 10-minute YouTube video.
Yeah, that's my interpretation.
You know, I don't think that I have yet. I think I've been mainly taking my 5-minute YouTube videos and running them through Minvo for the clips. But that has been something on my mind, like, especially with some of these how-to videos. Can I, like I mentioned earlier, throw that entire video in there and have an entire explainer video all just from that, like, editing inside of Minvo? So it's definitely something I'm going to play with, and I will definitely report back either on one of these lives, or maybe we'll put another video on YouTube just kind of talking about that process. But it is something I'm very curious to do it. It'll be a fun little experiment, and I think we can pull it off. I think it's doable.
All right, that sounds awesome. And let me give a little heads up. We're going to be wrapping up soon, not quite yet. And that means if you've got questions, by all means, put them in the chat, and stick around, because we are going to spin the wheel and see who wins the lifetime membership to Minvo. So definitely stick around for that. And also I want to say, we're certainly going to find our way doing this weekly live stream, and it's not always going to be all things Minvo, right? We just felt like this was a good way to start, but we will talk about other tools, other tricks, other services that you can use to help your content creating processes. And so I just wanted people to know this isn't going to always be a Minvo thing. And with that, maybe that's a good place to go with our next part of the conversation as we wrap up, really talking a little bit about just your overall strategies for creating short form videos. We've got a great tool, right? Minvo. And really, what are your strategies? For example, a lot of people like to do the 7-8 second shorts where maybe there's just some B-roll going on behind the scenes of, say, for example, if it's me and I'm podcasting and I'm just doing my thing, talking off screen like I'm podcasting, and then there's some text that pops up on the screen that says, read the caption for more on how you could start your podcast, right? And then that's driving people to go read the caption. The strategy behind that is that video will loop, and continue to play, and that triggers the algorithm for repeat watches or length of watching. And I am not a huge fan of that strategy, even though I know and I've seen it work. I'm just not a fan of that because I feel like people are engaging with content because they want to actually get the information from that content, right? They don't want to sit there and read. They're there to watch a video. So I like to cater to that, but I'm not knocking it because it works. I've seen it work. It's just not particularly the kind of content I like to make. So yeah, I'm curious, Nick, what kind of strategies are you seeing on social media these days that you're thinking, wow, that's really effective?
Okay, just before I do that, I just want to share because that question of the long form video, Anil over on YouTube said he's using Minvo on YouTube videos of like 30 minutes or even longer. So
Awesome.
people are actually doing it. I just wanted to throw that in there for the LinkedIn people that aren't seeing that. I, to me, one of the biggest things on social media that I'm seeing are the like some kind of animation and the combination of animation and sound effect or some kind of visual effect and sound effect happening on screen right away to catch someone's attention. I think there's something about that on-screen motion that grabs someone's attention, and it's not just like, oh, hey, it's Nick. Welcome to my video, and I'm going to talk about X, Y, Z. Like, you're actually getting thrown into the middle of whatever that concept is that's being discussed or whatever the main point of the video is before you even really understand what it's about. And to me, I know those are the ones that catch my eye. Like if I see a diagram or a workflow or something and there's a sound and the first thing that comes up on screen is like workflow that's going to save your entire life. Like I stop and I watch and then I'm like 5 minutes in and I'm like, or I guess not 5 minutes on short form, but several seconds in, I'm like, oh, they hooked me in. I don't really care about this stuff so much, but they hooked me right in.
Mm,
I think that's a big one.
yeah, yeah. You know, the hook, at least a few years ago, it became very obvious a lot of the hooks that people use because I feel like they got trendy and we would hear the same types of lines, opening lines to try to capture people's attention, and to the point where I think the hooks started to become, at least the ones that used to be used, started to become a little less effective. And I've liked how people have gotten creative with their hooks. For example, one that I really like and I've started using more of is using text titles on the screen as the video starts, and kind of relying on that to be more of your hook, because I find that people do stop for a second to read, okay, what is this about? Like what's going to go on here in this video? And it saves you that time to have to actually speak the hook to introduce people to it. So it captures attention and it sets up the scene for the rest of the video. I like using that strategy a lot lately, and I've been testing it, and so far it seems to get better engagement. Jury's still out for me, but maybe I need to also tweak a little bit of how I'm using those titles.
I mean, some of those videos, that's all it is text on the screen, and they'll do super
Yeah.
well. And it's frustrating when I'm spending how much time to create a short, and then there's literally like a video with text just showing on the screen, and that'll get like millions of
Yeah.
views. It's like I'm way overthinking this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also, what I like doing, and I should have had this on standby to share, and I'll put that in the Discord, but there's a strategy with short form content that I've been starting to experiment with, where the main the thing that's going to capture the most attention during that short might happen halfway through the video, right? And I know it's going to be the thing that hooks people in the most, but if it sits there halfway through or toward the end, most people aren't going to see it in time because they're going to probably get bored or, move on to the next thing because it wasn't entertaining enough. So what I like to do is sometimes tease that clip or that portion of the clip, and by basically isolating it, moving it to the front, Usually I'll change things like the coloring. Maybe I'll make it black and white or something like that to differentiate it from the rest of the content. And then I'll do, once that little thing just is there just enough to capture people's attention or curiosity, then I'll do maybe like a transition with a white flash or something, and then go into the short form video from the start. And then, yes, that little clip I played at the front will replay again and play out in its appropriate spot during the video.
I really like that strategy. I used to do that a lot with my first podcast, the 9-5 podcast. I would pull out like an interesting clip. But you kind of have to be careful with that too, though, because sometimes you can almost like lose the audience before they even understand what's going on. So you have to make sure that hook or that statement, whatever's being said, is like really attention grabbing. And I mean, we haven't talked about it, and it took me a while to find it, but I'd almost be interested in trying out Minvo's writing feature in there. Like you can go to a video and they have like almost like a chat GPT interface kind of thing. We can have a chat. I wonder if you could have it go scan through your transcript and try to find like just attention grabbing one-liners from it to like help you isolate and figure out which pieces would be good for that like intro clip. That'd be a fun little experiment to try too.
Yeah, I like that. Let's definitely experiment with that, and we can report back next week on that one. And let's see, somebody's asking, what's the name of the Discord channel? The link didn't take me to it. I tried to share a link to it. I wasn't sure. And we got to figure out how the best way is to share that with the community here on LinkedIn and YouTube. I'm not quite sure. The name of it should be Minvo. That's the name of the Discord.
The main Discord is called Minvo, and then the channel within it is called ProCast Topic Requests.
Correct. Yes. All right, Nick, what do you say we head to the picker wheel? Let me pull this up, and
see,
I'm gonna
sound
share.
effects. Sound
You like
effects.
that?
The big build up.
Let me share
Full
my
circle.
screen. That's right. It is kind of full circle. All right. Also, yeah. All right. So this is the picker wheel, and we actually use this in the podcasting morning chat. This is it's a free wheel. If you're ever doing something like this with your content, you can just add in all the slots, and then we're looking here at the wheel. You'll hear it here in a moment spinning, and we're gonna spin it. Nick, keep an eye on YouTube because we got to see. The person has to be present. So
yes.
We will call your name, and if you say you're here, you got to call it out, and then we will contact you. We have your email address when you registered, and Minvo will tell you exactly how you get your lifetime subscription, $1,000 value. So Nick, you ready? Should I spin it here?
Let's spin it. I'm excited to see who wins this.
Me too. Let's see. And it better play sound with all the hype here. Yes, there's the sound.
Yeah, we're good.
All right, it is spinning. I think this is like around 150 people. Let's see who's got it. All right, it's Darius, and I'm going to pronounce your last name terribly, I'm sure. Dumitru. Is Darius around? We're going to give you about 10 seconds. And
David says, I see my name.
Well, David, you may have another opportunity to see your name come up big like Darius's is on the screen here. I'm not seeing him in the LinkedIn chat. Are you seeing him in YouTube?
I am not.
All right. We're going to do this again. I'm going to hide Darius from the wheel now so that it doesn't land on Darius again. And let's spin. Hopefully we won't be here for another 2-3 hours.
It's got 120 more people to get through.
Yeah. Well, there it is. Oh, look at that. It's David who said, I see my name, I see my name.
No way. Oh my God, David.
And that was
you brought that
random.
into existence.
That is called, if anybody is a little bit into the woo, that is absolutely a manifestation right there, David. Congratulations. David, you win.
Dang. Okay, that's
so
awesome.
Funny. That is so funny.
All right, David.
Hacker.
Yeah, no kidding. Get out of our live stream. Just kidding. David, I'm
That
connecting with you on LinkedIn right now. And for everybody, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. And
please.
yeah, we'd love to chat with you guys more. I just want to make sure that I have you saved so we can get you all hooked up with that Minvo
Yeah,
lifetime
absolutely.
access. That's awesome.
Congratulations, David. That's really cool. And listen,
Crazy.
yes, please do. If you haven't, please connect with us on LinkedIn, on YouTube, however you see fit. We would love to connect with you there. And you can connect with Nick and I live every day, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time at the Podcasting Morning Chat, currently live via Clubhouse. So if you've uninstalled that app, go reinstall it and come join us over there. We can put in the Discord and elsewhere how you can connect with us there. But otherwise, you can meet us here, LinkedIn or YouTube, every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Nick will join us when available. I will always lead this charge as best I can, and always prefer to have Nick by my side here as well. So we will do that as best we can for you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for being here for our inaugural episode of the Minvo ProCast. Looking forward to growing with this community. And if there's anything that we can do to help you, whether it's with podcasting, content creation, short form, long form, you name it, we're happy to help. So please reach out anytime. Nick, any final words?
No, I just want to thank everyone for joining us here for this first one and being interactive and engaging. That kind of engagement makes this stuff fun. It makes us want to keep coming back and doing more of this kind of thing, and why we got into content creation in the first place. We love hearing from people and helping other people. So kudos to you guys. Congratulations, David. And I guess we'll see you in the next video and the next live stream, huh?
That's right. Yeah. We'll definitely see some more new how-to videos coming soon from Nick. And yes, we'll see you next Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on LinkedIn Live and YouTube Live. Thanks for joining us.
See you
Take
guys.
care. And you know what I should say, Nick? I should do it like I do in the morning chat. Make it a great day, everybody. Take care.
I like it.
And now we have to figure out how to end the live streams.
Yeah, I know.